Hi everyone, I'm Ryan. I'm with Ice Cream Please. And first of all, I just want to thank you all for being here. We felt very welcomed and it's been a great experience so far. And so we want to now share our take on some of the things that we're seeing. But first of all, what is Ice Cream Please? Very simply, we want to be the Uber for ice cream trucks. What does that mean? That means that we're a mobile app, and we want to make it dead simple for anybody who wants ice cream to request ice cream. And then we want it also to be just as easy for drivers to see where that demand is so that they can go fulfill it. So that's what we are. But who we are, we think of ourselves a little differently. Our mission is to use technology to create drastic growth in the ice cream industry. And that's really what we see the opportunity as being. For instance, Uber has tripled the amount of demand for taxis in San Francisco because they have made it easier and they've really tapped into the millennial market. And so we want to do the same thing with ice cream. So a quick overview for what we're going to talk about. The first thing is the on-demand movement in general. This is happening across a lot of different industries, and we really believe that this can come to ice cream and really benefit everybody by growing demand. Then the next thing is how this is going to grow it. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then the last thing we want to cover is what you all can do to start embracing technology and help capture this growth. So with that said, I'd like to hand it over to the Ice Cream Please founder and CEO, Darren.
Thank you, Ryan. I want to start today by talking a little bit about on-demand services. So I have this really catchy title, On-Demand is in Demand. But what do I mean by that? If you zoom way out, what I really mean is that people are starting to order just about everything on their smartphones and on mobile apps these days. And that includes ice cream too. So they're ordering all kinds of goods and services, and the general expectation of the customer is kind of beginning to change. And this is pretty widespread. It's kind of almost like a movement. And so we're seeing this across like all kinds of different industries. You have the transportation industry, you have the hotel industry, you have like lots of different professional freelance services, and you have the food industry as well. And that's where it kind of pertains to you guys. So what I want to do is give you guys some examples of some different companies that you may be familiar with. They're kind of bigger players in the industry right now, or in different industries, but I want to show you how widespread this whole on-demand movement really is. So let's start with transportation. How many of you guys have heard of Uber and Lyft? Yeah, okay. So everybody's heard of them. If you haven't, then you know someone who's used it, And if you're not really familiar with what they are exactly, they're rideshare companies. So they're kind of like the taxi business, but they don't have to have like yellow cars, like a bunch of their own cars. So they've kind of done things a little bit differently, and they've kind of paired their new kind of method for getting these services out there with the most available technology that everybody has access to, so the smartphone. And so by doing this, they've created just a much better overall user experience and just a better product. It's kind of higher quality, and it's more convenient, and it actually costs less. So that's like, why wouldn't you use that? They've been pretty successful, as we all know. And then if you look into the hotel industry, there's Airbnb, HomeAway. These guys are kind of doing something similar, but a little bit different. If you're traveling, you can rent somebody's home out, and it has like a full kitchen, a backyard. And that's just a little different than renting out a hotel room. And a lot of times it's actually like cheaper to do Airbnb as well. So they've done that same kind of thing where they're like doing a different method of supplying a service, and they've kind of paired that with up-to-date technology, and they're able to kind of get all these people really excited about it. So these are kind of the more in the spotlight and like popular industries that have been affected by the on-demand movement. But then there's also all these other, like, basically freelance professional services. So you have, in the spa industry, you have Soothe and Zeal. These are like, if you want to get a massage at your home. You have Design Crowd if you want like graphic design done. If you want your fence fixed at your house, you can get like TaskRabbit, or if you want your dog walked, you can get Rover. But my point with all these different companies that do this is that people are really starting to see apps as a way to get stuff done. So this is a new thing. And I'm not really surprised because it's such a benefit to both sides of the service. You have, on the customer side, you have this new product. It's like a better package, better deal, and it's more convenient. And then on the service provider side, which would be like everyday people like us driving for a Lyft or renting your house out, you have this ability to kind of grow your business and make money without having to spend advertising dollars. So it's just a really kind of cool opportunity. So how does this apply to everybody here? Well, this movement kind of extends pretty heavily into the food industry as well. So people are just now starting to like really embrace ordering groceries from Instacart. If you want stuff from a convenience store or like a grocery store, you can use GoPuff, Amazon Fresh, Instacart. And they're also doing fully prepared meals from restaurants. So you can get any type of cuisine from any restaurant pretty much, and you can use one of these Uber Eats or Favor or Grubhub. So that's really great and everything, but one area of this on-demand service for food that could use some improvement and has like some space for new players is the subsection of ice cream. So ice cream delivery. And you might ask yourself, how do we know that people would be interested in ordering ice cream? Because this hasn't really been done a lot in actual on-demand ice cream. So we asked the same question, and we ended up making our app and releasing it last year. And without really doing very much direct marketing, we were able to get like 30,000 ice cream consumers to download the app and try and use it. So what this tells us is that people are looking for ice cream and ice cream trucks. And so that's a really cool kind of opportunity for everybody here. And at the same time, I want to make the point that like Uber and GoPuff, they're trying to deliver ice cream. And they actually like kind of offer, you can go get a pint at a store and bring it to your house. And some people use it. But really the price point is so high that it kind of it's not really very economical on a larger scale. So a lot of people can't afford like a $10 or $15 pint of ice cream, or they don't want to. I don't really want to do that. But so basically this creates this gap on the the service side is a great opportunity for the ice cream truck industry. So let me kind of give you some paint some pictures for how this might look day to day for an ice cream truck. So, okay, so I'm like a parent with a party that I need to plan for my kid. I want something that's inexpensive, easy to clean up, but is also still very fun and memorable for everybody there. So I've heard about the ability to get your local ice cream truck to cater, and that sounds great because it kind of takes care of all of the my concerns. So where do I go first? Maybe I look on Google, do a Google search for like ice cream truck rental. I think that's pretty much what most people would think to do. And what do I get? Like a long list of maybe relevant, maybe not relevant search results that may have your truck listed, or they may not at all on the first couple pages. But the point is that it's kind of difficult, and it's not very streamlined, and it's not a very enjoyable user experience. So I could do Google, or maybe I've heard about a cool app from like a friend of mine that says there's a cool app out there where you can see where ice cream trucks are, and you can order from them. You can see what their menus are, what their schedules are, and you can message them in the app. So I download that and I send a message or send a request to you out there on the street saying, come to my party, or come to our kids' party at 2 o'clock on Thursday. And Thursday comes around, and We give you step-by-step directions to their house. At the end of the day, everybody wins. You sell ice cream, it's a win-win situation. So that's one scenario. Now imagine something different. I'm not a parent with a party. I'm just somebody who really likes ice cream or the ice cream truck. But it's kind of hard to find, an ice cream truck in your area. So, I hear about this cool app, I download the app, and I can save myself as somebody that wants to be alerted when an ice cream truck comes by my house. So as an ice cream truck out there in the street, as you're going along your route, you can see all the customers like me and then ping us as you go throughout your route. So you don't have to go way out of your way unless you get a request for something that's like 15 people and you just want to go. So it just is really, at the end of the day, a much more efficient way of kind of connecting up the two sides. And that kind of reminds me of a story where there's actually a vendor in Phoenix who has been talking to us on Instagram. And they have a very interesting story where it's so hot in Phoenix that people spend most of the summer inside. And they're inside, and they have their ACs turned up so high that they can't really even hear the ice cream songs, So she had this problem, and she used our app to kind of more effectively connect with those people, and the customers she knows are there in their houses. So I thought that was kind of cool. It's like using technology to make a benefit for your company. And there's lots of ways to do that. But at this point, we can kind of ask ourselves, does the benefit stop at the ice cream truck? Are there other people in this room that can benefit from this whole scenario? And the answer is yes. With services like this, like Uber and Lyft, and our service, you get this kind of this hype and this kind of viral excitement within a community. So what happens is not only do you get more sales from the customers that you already have out there, but you also generate new customers out of thin air because they're kind of getting on board with the excitement. And that's what Ryan was talking about earlier, where you're getting this extra influx of new customers into the market. So what that means is that that translates to more business for the distributors and for the ice cream manufacturers and even the equipment manufacturers up the line. Because all those distributors and ice cream trucks out there, they're gonna, their businesses are gonna be expanding. So, sorry, I missed this. I didn't switch to this one in time. This is what I was just talking about. So everybody wins. It's kind of an interesting situation where in our industry, we could have a win-win, win-win. We have the customer that wins, the ice cream truck that wins. We have the distributors and the manufacturers, and then us as the technology provider. So it's kind of cool. If we all work together, we can all benefit. So let me give you some specific examples of technologies that we can kind of implement in our businesses to kind of push us in that right direction. So I'm going to just reiterate on this one because I started off talking about on-demand services. This is really important. This is if you take this away from this lecture, then you've done good. There's really, this is the most important thing. And I'm saying that because pretty much everybody out there has smartphones or tablets kind of integral to their life. Almost every household in America has at least one smart device present. So this is a really great opportunity for all of us to take advantage of, this really widespread technology and connect with the new generation of parents and kids. So, this is exciting. I think it's really important to remember this, and this is the main way into that or along that road. And then there's GPS mapping and location services. This kind of works with apps. You can do this on your websites too. But the point is, if you can see your customers or you can see the vendors on a map, it's just a much more enjoyable user experience for the end user. Can you imagine Uber and Lyft if you weren't able to see the drivers coming to your location? It would technically work, but it's just not as enjoyable. It's not as satisfying. So people really like this, and it's something that we can do for ice cream trucks. And it's just also more efficient too for kind of completing that service. Just being able to see where your customers are instead of just aimlessly driving around. So GPS mapping location service is very important. Credit card services. I'm sure that all of the fleet owners and distributors here, which is probably most of you guys, already do this. But a lot of the independents out there, I think actually don't do this still. And I think it's because they like cash and they don't want to take credit cards. But the kind of important point is that you can do both. And you're probably going to be missing out a lot of sales because, let's face it, a lot of people these days don't carry cash. And the other thing is, if you're not carrying as much cash, it's probably a little bit safer when you're driving around. Everybody, this is a pretty old technology, but, and it's just now getting a lot more convenient with the little square readers. But this is, something that everybody should do because, even the little taco truck on the side of the road has that. So, yeah, I'd love to see every ice cream truck in the world have a square reader at least. So then there's social media marketing and staying connected out there through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So a lot of ice cream trucks use social media to kind of show where they are at a given time. Like I'm going to be at the park, on Tuesday, and all their followers know. And that's good. I think that's definitely a part of the puzzle, or a piece of the puzzle. But I don't think that by itself that's really enough to make it a really easy user experience for them to find you. But one really good thing about using social media is that you can give your company kind of a face. So people don't really like big faceless corporations. They kind of tend to want to support something that they can relate to more. So by kind of posting content that is relatable and kind of interesting to your customer base, you're going to stay connected with them. And another benefit is that you can kind of get good feedback from them. If you have a large following from your customers, you can get good feedback, and also kind of network. So that's a really important one too. And then this one's not quite as obvious, but tools and equipment advancements, staying up to date with the most, maybe not the most cutting edge, because those are usually pretty expensive, but as technologies become more readily available, you gotta, stay aware. Because, for example, with a hybrid car, they don't quite have it down for larger trucks yet, so it's not gonna be, you can't go out and buy an ice cream truck that's hybrid or make an ice cream truck with a hybrid vehicle yet. But in the next 5 years, as they become more available, you're going to save more than half of your fuel costs. And if you do that across your whole fleet over the course of a few years, that's like $50,000. I know that people spend a lot of money these days on fuel while driving around. And then there's also better insulation. There's better solar panels and everything these days. So just kind of taking advantage of all that is really something that's smart to do. And I think if we use as many of these tools that are available to us, and kind of just stay aware of different methods that are being used out there, kind of like how Uber and Airbnb have kind of done a little bit of a different method the way they approach their business. I think it's safe to say that we can really have some cool advancements in the ice cream industry. So I'm going to hand it back over to Ryan to kind of wrap us up and give you some examples of kind of how to implement this.
All right, thanks, Darren. One thing that I just wanted to highlight too is that Uber is actually replacing taxis, and we aren't looking to do that at all. The big difference there is that we still need the trucks and the vendors. So we really view this as just a new channel to get customers. Uber looked to do a lot more and actually replace the existing industry. So I just wanted to really emphasize that is a very key distinction. The reason why we use Uber is because it's very familiar and it's very similar from a customer experience standpoint. So with that said, just to quickly recap why this is so important is if you look at it from the customer's perspective, so first and foremost, it's convenient. Open up an app, tap one button, and your ice cream is on the way. People love that. The next one is trust. Being able to see ratings and trust that your kids can go outside and safely interact with people. That's something that really helps some people overcome any hesitations, again, leading to more sales. And then the last thing is once these things start taking off, then it becomes a lot more accessible. You have a really wide net of vendors in your area, and the vendors have a wide net of customers. And by being able to better match people than the music box today, everybody wins. So those are the things from the customer's perspective for why on-demand is so popular. We've really been emphasizing more sales because that is what we think this is all about. But there are some other things: customer relations, building more of a relationship with your customers, seeing them more frequently, being available. And then the last thing is really engaging a new generation. When you think about millennials, they are interacting with industries in a different way than their parents' generation. And that really is this on-demand mobile movement. And so we see this as a really great way in particular to tap into a new generation of people that are starting to have families and are going to be the customers of the future. So what can you do? So as a vendor, we think the single most important thing is to go mobile and really be available when you're working, because part of on-demand means that you're responding quickly, right? People don't want to say, I want ice cream, and then get a response 2 hours later. They want to hear that you're on the way or that you can be there in an hour on your route. They expect a quick response. The next thing is to create awareness, spread the word with customers. And so the first step of that is creating awareness with your existing customers. And that helps them order more frequently, so you get more sales. The other benefit is that then they can tell their friends, and so you actually start to get new customers. And then the last thing is to be patient. All of these technology trends, they tend to be very slow, and then they build momentum, and then all of a sudden it's pervasive. If you think about the smartphone, I remember even 4 years ago, it kind of seemed like this luxurious, expensive thing. And now, everybody is just expected to have one. So they're slow, but then it really takes off. And so it's, if to not get left behind, you want to make sure that you're there when it's taking off. And then as distributors, what can you do? The first thing is to spread awareness with the vendors that you have relationships with. Again, if they're selling more ice cream, you're selling more ice cream. And then the other thing too is, I can't speak for our competitors, but we are here to serve everyone in this room. And so we need your feedback about what's working and what's not. And our commitment is to be responsive to that, because at the end of the day, you have options out there, and we want to be your trusted partner. And the way that we can do that is for you to work with us. You have a lot of relationships, you're hearing the feedback, and so we view you guys as a channel to learn how we can continue to improve on our on-demand service. So with that said, we'd love to take any questions. I know this was a lot of content. Yeah?
I know you have downloaded the app, could you do a step-by-step of showing us exactly what that experience is when using your ice cream freeze app?
So are you?
Could you just give us a
So are you asking?
Just sharing with us.
Yeah. As far as downloading the app.
Well, no, so are you looking from the customer experience or vendor?
I'm just trying to, because give us, I get the presentation, from a perspective, I like to know, when I download the app, what it looks like, what it feels like, what do I need to do as far as, downloading it,
Signing up.
as a vendor, what would it be like a customer?
Yeah,
Give us from a hands-on perspective.
Sure. So I'm not sure how to make that visual right now. My phone screen's a little small. But I'll try to describe it in words to the best extent that I can. So I think that I always think understanding the customer perspective is where it starts, because at the end of the day, we all have to serve the end customer. So as a customer, you would download the app in the Android or iOS store. And then from there, you sign up. It's very quick, familiar. And then once you've signed up, the first option is whether or not you want ice cream on demand or you want to schedule an event. So that's sort of the first decision. If you want it on demand, then you have two options. You can say like, hey, I want to put my hand up and let vendors know that I want it now. The other option is to say, I want to be notified when there's an ice cream truck in my area, and so I can more opportunistically decide when I want it. And that increases the range beyond, how far I can hear music. But it's otherwise very similar experience. So that would be the customer experience. And then as a vendor, the idea is very similar to Uber, where you always have the app open. And so when you get started driving on your route, you open up the app and you say that you're available. You set your status to available. And that by doing so, you get notifications when anyone in the area indicates that they want ice cream. And you'll also get notifications for if people are looking to book events. And once you get that notification, you then respond to it by saying like, hey, I'm heading over, or yes, I can fulfill this event, I'm available. So that's the overview of the experience. And I will say that we're working on a new version right now. We've gotten some feedback from our initial users. And so we're adding some features out to help address, like messaging is a big one that we didn't have initially. So that experience, we're continuously trying to improve it, but I've tried to paint at least sort of what we aspire to create. Any questions on that?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Yeah?
Do you have a rating system on the customer and on the truck?
So the current app does not have that, but we're releasing like he was mentioning, a new version of the app in January, which should have a place to leave feedback, including ratings and comments, and that's for both sides. So we think it's important for as a vendor, you want to hear all the good feedback, all the good things you're doing, so you make sure you keep doing them. And also, if you don't carry Ben & Jerry's and everyone wants it, you should probably learn that and start doing that. At the same time, you should probably be able to do a rating for the customer too, so that if they're a problem customer, like they ask you to come over and then they don't buy ice cream, it's pretty important for you to be able to, avoid them in the future. So, or at least leave them feedback to let them know like what they did wrong. So yeah, we have both sides.
So I was going to ask you if you have minimums, but now you just said if they ask you to come over and they don't buy ice cream. So I've actually done something like this with Uber, where we actually got an Uber driver would get on our ice cream truck and then they'd open up their app as an ice cream for one day.
Right.
But it was $20 minimum. So
right.
if they pinged us and said we want ice cream, it was already prepaid before we ever got there, $5 per piece. They'll give them 4 pieces of ice cream.
Yeah. So along those lines, we never plan on getting involved in the actual transaction between the customer and the vendor. At the same time, we want to make sure that if people are abusing our service, they're not going to be allowed to continue in the future. So customers that don't ever they order and they don't buy anything, they're going to be removed from the app. And same thing with vendors. If they're saying that they're going to come and they don't, that's pretty irritating on the customer side. So as far as the minimum order thing goes, if you're driving around as a vendor and you notice that they're 2 miles away, I was talking with somebody the other day about how this could be kind of a problem. If you see they're 2 miles away and you're going along your route that you normally go on, you're not going to want to leave that route because there's people that wait for you on your route every single day. And if you do leave your route, somebody's going to come in and steal your route. And basically, the idea is if you get a message for to go over there 2 miles away and you don't want to do it, you can message them and say, hey, I'm going to come by your area at the end of my route, or if you want me to come now, I can come, but there's a $15 minimum, and just kind of work that out between you. It's kind of like you might think Craigslist. It's like it's not going to take place in the app, but you can get there, and then if you show that it's agreed upon and then they still don't do it, like you said, it's a $15 minimum. You get there and they don't buy $15, then you basically can rate them poorly.
And I just add to that like we're still learning, and one of the things that we felt was very important is to not try to change too much. I think that there are a lot of people that come up with technology and they try to push their way onto everyone else. Our initial vision was really just to say, hey, how can you know who wants ice cream who isn't within earshot of your truck? That was the initial idea. And then to try to get feedback and learn what's working and what we can add from there, what are new opportunities now that there is a mobile app. But that's a very different approach than an Uber that says, no, I have an entirely new way of doing things and you have to follow my way. And it's obviously worked for them, but the taxi industry has hated them. And our approach is to work with everybody who's already in this industry rather than try and replace anyone. And so because that's our approach, we've started off trying to change as little as possible and get feedback so that it's, like, that's why I was saying why we need feedback is we want this to be the community's app. We don't want it to be us imposing our vision on other people. So, you know, I mean, I hear you loud and clear, and if we consistently hear, look, I need a minimum in order to justify this, then that's absolutely something we would do. But we don't want to make assumptions beforehand. So view it as a work in progress. We're in the early days.
Yeah, so say, you know, this is a city, this room. Can you through the app send out, I'll be hitting tables 1 through 4 today, and just so people there will know, but they don't know, so I'm not getting those people over there saying, stop by, can I somehow notify these people?
Yeah, so when you go on the app as a vendor, you're going to be able to see every customer that's in that city. Whether or not they're requesting, well, so you'll see the customers that have specifically requested ice cream from you, and those will appear on the map as like a red hand. And then you'll also see customers that want to be alerted when any ice cream truck is in their area. So to answer your question, you know, you can go ahead and tap on like, you know, if you have like 5 different hands throughout the area you think you're going to go through, you can tap on all those simultaneously. You don't have to do one at a time. You could just do all of them, and then you know that you're going to go hit them all. And you can say that you're going to be there later that day or right now or whatever. But as far as like a batch of them, we don't have a way to like kind of group them together and do that. But
So, I mean, we're like the Twin Cities metro area. I mean,
Sure.
you can close it down to one city, because if you're getting, Minneapolis, St. Paul is a huge area.
yeah.
You know.
So well, right now we don't limit it geographically. Other than just, you know, if there's no vendors nearby, we do you know, alert the customer that there aren't any vendors that are currently open or available in their area. And you know, as we fill in those areas that are kind of like service gaps, I think that should kind of address that issue. But I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to or not. But yeah. So I mean, you know, if we can get lots of different vendors in the same city, that's great, because then it's just, you know, the service is really, you know, solid.
I mean, I think that what might address your point is that as a vendor, you are choosing the customers that you can serve. Yeah. And so we don't have a way yet of defining an area, but you would be able to look in your area and then tap on the customers who are there. Okay. So is that?
If like your competitors trying to get to those same customers, so, you know, we may end up doing it where if one vendor has already pinged that they're going to be in that area, it kind of like takes them out of the, you know, changes them on the map so they, you know, other vendors can see that they've already been alerted.